the cameraman, the producer, tipped up the winner of the champion hurdle.
Yeah,
Did you seriously? Huh?
that's like
He's nodding.
That's
and
like being
he's
psychic.
waving at us
Oh my god!
because he wished we'd said it, but he didn't.
Yeah, he fucking told me no. That's on there.
Sorry, he's not going to put that in. Edit that out. Would you like to introduce your little friend, Ed?
Well, this is Paul Robson, Ryan. You should know him.
You can't start with that.
That's a terrible start. Right, well, do you want me to do this?
Yeah, I got it.
So, episode 3, and we're joined by Paul Robson. Thank you for coming on, Paul.
Thank you for
to
having
talk
us.
about all things your life, racing,
Northern Racing.
Northern racing.
Yeah.
Joining in on the fun that we're having here in this podcast.
Certainly. I mean, we're on
Are you
the
having fun?
Made by extra
Started
fun
well.
today.
I'm not going to tell you what time of day it is.
No. Well, thanks for having us.
That's just
Yeah.
great to have you.
Yeah, delighted to be part of it.
So obviously things have changed for you over the years. You started off in a yard just outside Hawick,
Yeah.
and now you've upscaled to a new yard now. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so we've been training now for 4 years. We started off in a place called Spittal and Rule that was owned by the Reddy Half family, which was super. They kind of gave us a really nice grounding just to get going.
Who rode your first winner?
Oh, you did. Right, on the second one.
And this,
Same horse. But no, actually, do you know what? One winner, because the very first winner was for Dad. And then the second winner was obviously for me, which was good. So yeah, things went well there. We were there 4 years, and then we made the move to Hazelrig after Rose Dobbin retired. So that was nice.
You had great success from the first place as well, didn't you? You did really well.
No, we did, but it's like anything. Good horses win nice races, and we managed to come across a horse called Cannock Park that kind of set things alight for us, which was quite nice. And we had that winner at Cheltenham and whatnot, and things kind of snowballed from there. It increases the amount of owners that come along. It gives you that little bit of exposure, and then I suppose if we managed to do a good job, in a yard that probably had not limited resources, but we just had the one all weather that it was a good all weather. We could train from it, but I'm pretty ambitious, so I mean, when you start to be that way, then you only want bigger and better things, and the opportunity came that we could get to Hazelrig, so thankfully we're there, and I suppose it's one of the most just well-built premises that would be in the north of England.
Yeah, well, tell us more about the facilities. What facilities do you have? I know this is for the viewers at home.
Yeah, that's it. So look, Hazelrig was set up, or South Hazelrig was set up in 2009 by Rose and Tony Dobbin, and there was nothing. I reckon with Dobbs and Rose's experience, they'd obviously been in plenty of yards themselves, very well connected to the likes of Greystoke and Jackdaws Castle and Llanelungos and places like that, and I reckon they probably went around everywhere they could to get as much outside experience as they could to figure out how they would want to prepare what was a dairy farm, into be one of probably the nicest yards there is in the north.
But you're the same as them though. You've been in all these places as well. You've seen how it's done in all these big yards, and you've got all that experience as well.
Well, that's it. Yeah. Look, I worked with Dobbs for years, I suppose, in Greystoke and Harding and whatnot, and you have a fair idea on how you would like to train horses. Yeah. We all do, but then you also pick up little bits and bobs from everybody you worked for. I started off in Ferdy Murphy's actually as a kid. When I was 14, we used to spend every kind of summer and Easter holiday there, and he was a proper taskmaster, old-fashioned, just a proper man. And then obviously from there, I was very lucky then to go back to the Scottish borders actually to Philippa Shirley Bevan, who was brilliant because she'd obviously been in a few yards in the south. She was a great point-to-point trainer. She gave us a great grounding in terms of think the best thing that you don't get that much these days is, especially being an amateur, is you get that experience over fences straight away, and you're not starting as a conditional and just getting a shot on bumpers and hurdles. So that was a fantastic grounding. To then, I was approached by John Joe O'Neill actually at John Wade's place when I was 16. Rode a winner for the Shelley Bevins called the Alley Cat. And then John Joe happened to be there, and he offered us the amateur's job to go to Ivy House, which was his yard before Jack Daz Castle, and then obviously to Jack Daz Castle after that. So yeah, no, it was great.
Yeah, you've got some great connections from racing. Like, some great people.
Yeah, fantastic.
Like some proper legends.
Yeah,
and I'd like to think that you could see yourself being one of them legends one day. What I love about you is your ambition. You've moved to the bigger yard. You've got all these facilities, and there's no doubt you know how to train a horse. So like it's the sky's the limit really, as far as you're concerned.
You have to put yourself in a position to be able to make changes to your life.
Yeah.
Like everybody says, you can't change your stars. I think you can. So I mean that's how I look at anything in life. I mean, if there's something you can do, then why not do it? And I'd rather fail forward than not even try, because you fail by default. So that's the kind of rule I've always lived by. So take a chance, have a go, put your knowledge to the test, and at least at the end of it, there's who judges you. You know what I mean? So no, crack on.
But you got off the board pretty quickly from your new yard. You had Breeze River won the big race at Kelso beginning of the season.
Yeah, he did. Grand horse. I mean, but there's another horse that we took a chance with. You know, I mean, he was out the handicap by like 5 or 6 pounds, but we always believed he was a good horse. And to be fair to him, he's, you know what, like you rode him in Cheltenham. He is a good horse. He's lost his way a little bit, but I think there's been some internal things going wrong with him. But again, we went to Hazelrig. We had Cannock Park. We thought he was almost going to be the stalwart of the season. And he's got issues that carried on from last season, in Newbury especially. I mean, we noticed he was hanging badly one way. And then, you know, when he kind of knew finally he had to be rested, Breeze River came on the up. And we took a chance at them in that nice race, the Simply Ned Chase at Kelso. And you know what? It paid off. He went and won. And
yeah, I'd have been one of them sitting in the waiting room going, what's he doing running this horse in this race? You know, and I wouldn't have known much about the horse. I just, you know, when you look at the form and what he's won, you think, you know, fair play. And then for him to go and win like he did, it was very impressive. And then, as you say, I was lucky enough to ride him at Cheltenham, and I got a feel for him. And like, he's a lovely horse.
He's a fair horse. He is. But like, look, I've been a jockey, so if you get a feel for one, and it's almost a glimmer sometimes. Maybe it's not like every single day there's a piece of work that you think, oh, that sets a world alight. But every now and then one just gives you a feel that you start to believe yourself as a trainer, that you think to yourself, do you know what, I don't care what anybody else thinks of this horse. I know he's good enough. And on his day, if he produces it, he will be. And do you know what, like Sean Quinlan rode him that day, because he was out the weights and he was very light. And Sean, you know, bull of a rider, you know, and I went in to speak to him before the race, and I just said to him, regardless of what anybody else thinks of this horse, I believe this horse is good enough to win that race. And he did, by nose, but he still won it.
He still won it.
And that's sometimes what it takes.
He was so game when he won it as well. So game.
I mean, he went down after the last, to be fair. The Malistic, and, you know, he battled back, which... And off the face of that and off the back of that, he beat horses that day, right? He won 5-8. You know what I mean? So he justified then going to Cheltenham. And then after Cheltenham, we had a conversation, and we kind of thought he wants 2.5 miles. And every single time we've stepped him up to 2.5, he's been a disappointment. But he was gone half a mile into the race.
I think both those runs he was disappointing before the trip came into a factor.
Exactly.
He ran a lovely race at Cheltenham
and
gave me a great ride, and he's just fallen away. But this is the difficult. That's why I know not everyone trains, isn't it? Because you know you're constantly fighting against problems with horses and trying to get it right, and it's difficult to piece it all together. That's why it's difficult to do.
Well, I think this is the whole reason of this show is. I mean, it's not the fact that we've got 200 horses to throw at a season.
No.
We've got 30 horses to throw at a season, or 26. And so if I've got 2 horses that are good enough out of that 26, I'm probably in a higher ratio than any other trainer in the country. Do you know what I mean? Because we had 2 horses potentially that were good enough to perhaps head to Cheltenham this year. And in the end, we went there with none, but we only had 2 bullets to fire.
Yeah.
As opposed to having 6 or 7 or even 10 or 12. Or,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? How many runners did Willie Mullins have in the Triumph Hurdle?
Yeah,
Even
exactly.
11 runners in one race,
Do you know what I
yeah.
mean? Like, and we have 2 bullets to fire
For
all
all
the year.
season. And that's where you have to kind of manage them in a different aspect, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, like, do you know, like in the back of my brain, I've always got Nicky Richards there because it's like your horses are your soldiers.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And if you've not got soldiers to
Go to
just
war
send
with.
in, you know what I mean? Like you've got to mind them. Every single one counts. Like
They do, yeah.
yeah, every training session counts. I mean, if you get it wrong, you're a long time between drinks, or you're
Yeah.
we could run 6 horses a month, and all 6 horses might run poor.
Yeah.
Or a top trainer can run 6 horses a day, and they can run poor, but tomorrow he might train a double. You know,
Yeah, and have
then
another
we're
one.
having to wait 5 weeks or 6 weeks before we get that win.
It's like me with rides.
But it's a numbers game.
It is.
When you've got 100 horses, you just keep throwing shit at the wall. Let's be honest.
And some of it will
and seeing
eventually
what
stick.
sticks.
Yeah.
And even when you've got horses that are running crap, there's always going to be the odd one that wins. But when you've got limited numbers,
Yeah.
you have to. You can't leave any stone left unturned. Like everything has to be right, and it's so bloody
It
difficult.
does.
But we had a question after the last podcast from Richard Quigley that was saying, what's the difference between all these different types of training?
Yeah.
You know, like how's one yard different from the other, and that leads quite nicely into that. Is that effectively it is a numbers thing? You know, like your smaller yards, do you have to do things differently from the big yards? You don't have to, there isn't the attention to detail. There can't be. When you've got 200 horses, the attention to detail isn't quite the same. But you know, maybe you could explain in a way that, you know, from a small yards point of view, how you have to do it compared to bigger yards.
I think there's 2 ways of looking at that question. Like bigger yards, more money, attract great staff.
Yeah.
Or better staff.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, this whole game revolves around the people that work in it. And like, without sounding cliche, you can't run a racing yard without staff.
Yeah.
It's impossible to do. So if you're in a position where you're training loads of winners, where you've got a massive turnover of horses, then you've got more pool money, you've got more money basically to pay higher standards of wages. That then in turn, if you've got good staff, you're able to prepare your horses better.
Yeah.
Like the smaller yards, you're always up against it, because I'm very fortunate because we've got phenomenal staff actually at Hazelrig, and we do, and I'm not just saying that because, you know, I want to congratulate my staff. We actually have really good staff, you know what I mean, because they're all either came from an eventing background, they've always done pony clubs since they were younger, they can really ride.
Except Ed.
Ed comes in but it's true.
I'm the oddball out.
No, God, no. But you know, like, regardless of winners or any of that kind of stuff, without the likes of Ed and having somebody in the yard like that that can speak to you on a daily basis, my language, like of like a jockey's language, if you like.
Yeah.
Like me and Ed will speak about horse, or when you're in, we'll speak about horse, or when Craig's in, like we speak in a completely different language than you do to the girls that are there, simply because the terminology is different. We're looking for different things. Our staff, they can really sit a horse properly. They can hold it in an outline where jockeys can't do that. Some of them can't. You know what I mean? Some of them come in because they've not even jumped off on an outline in the schooling ground. Like it just, so there's always them benefits that I'm really fortunate to have. But the second part of that question, sorry, long story short, is that like if you're in a yard that's not big enough and aren't able to pay the salaries that are needed to be, and you've got limited staff, or limited staff with that type of experience, that you're only ever up against it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And that's so difficult to overcome.
I was speaking to James Ewart just this morning, and he was saying how he struggles to even get away from the yard because he hasn't got that sort of head person or that responsible person that he can completely leave in charge and he can walk away from it. And he simply said that you can't. Firstly, you have to find the person, and then secondly, you have to justify paying them what they deserve to be paid, want to be paid.
Whether they deserve
it.
That's the other side.
But that's the thing. All these smaller yards, especially in the north now, that you can't justify paying that because you don't have the money to, because it's difficult to get the owners in and get the horses in, and it's slowly getting
The money's just
getting,
not in the
yeah,
north
it's not in the
anymore,
north
is it?
at all.
Well, I think it is. I think there's money in the north.
Right.
But I think what you're finding in the north is that the money's moving to certain yards that are more powerful. Do you know what I mean? Like,
right,
so,
okay.
look, Lucinda Russell had a phenomenal Cheltenham. Has had a fantastic year last year, and you can see what's happened. Like they're growing, they're expanding, they're getting bigger, they're spending more money. Like regardless of how far north they are actually now able to compete in the south. So like then you've got to ask the question why. Like
Well, this is nothing against Lucinda
No,
because she
not
does
at
a good
all.
job,
It's
but it's
phenomenal.
money.
Of course it
It's
is.
money.
Yeah,
They have the money to start with.
Yeah.
She is able to go to the sales and buy 5 or 6
100 grand.
horses
Yeah.
for a fortune and under the, thinking, well, I can pay for it if I can't get the owners. So
Yeah.
she's in that lucky position.
And like you say, like, do you know what? Fair dues there.
Yeah,
because
exactly,
she's-
100%.
like, between her, well, she's literally at this point in time the only trainer in the north that can actually go south.
Yeah.
So I congratulate that because
Yeah, yeah.
and they're not scared of taking their horses south either.
No, not
like
at all.
I've always said that, and I sit and I have coffee with Skew, up at Musselburgh and whatnot, and we chat to him about this, like how. Like I love to send horses south. I love to have a go. Like regardless of the quality of the race, like I love the fact that they do that. Nicky Richards done it a few years ago. He was sending horses to, Newton Abbott and places like that through the summer. Love that.
Yeah.
Like love it. Like because I'm sick to the death of the whole thing where there's a north-south divide.
Yeah.
Yes, there is, but it still takes somebody to go there to have a shot. Like. Because they're not scared of coming north.
No, sick to death of them coming north.
Yeah.
I'm not though, but and I'm probably on the other side of the fence here. Like I'm probably the
Shut
one.
up, man! What are you on about?
No, but I like competing. Like when I was riding, I'm not being funny. Like I never had the best career in the world, and it wasn't for a long career. But like I loved heading south.
Yeah.
I was very fortunate to ride
I enjoy it,
in the
yeah.
south. So like I loved being a northern jockey going south, and I loved walking into the weighing room and them saying, "Oh, here he is again." And
Yeah,
like,
do you know
that.
what? Do you know what annoys me? Is you go down south, they're like, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
And you're like, well, hang on. And then they come up north and it's just like, oh yeah, we're taking over. Like, that's the attitude towards it, though, isn't it?
But I think having the likes of Peter Skew in the north is brilliant because I think he's bringing that mentality, that hunger of then, he doesn't give a fuck.
No.
Like he wants to go south, he wants to beat them at Cheltenham, he wants to be at Aintree. And they're in a position where they can. So
Well, that's it. They're lucky enough to have. They've got the ammunition, haven't they?
Yeah. I love it.
That's one thing most northern trainers are lacking is a bit of ammunition.
I'm just jealous.
Yeah. Quite honestly, we're just jealous. We want those horses.
Yeah, I want good horses. I want to train horses that are good enough to go there and compete every Saturday.
The problem with the smaller yards, though, is, if someone says to you, oh, I've got such and such, I've got 50, 100 grand to spend, but that's one horse.
Yeah.
That is difficult to do. You could spend 100 grand on a horse and it could be no good. And you can spend 10 grand on something that ends up being decent. Like it's very, very difficult. Where
it's fickle. Like it's starting out. Like I'm starting out training, and I think I'm probably my one worst enemy in the fact that like I want to be there now, knowing fine well that this could take 20 years.
Yeah.
Like and that annoys me.
It's like impatience going on.
I'm the most impatient person in the world. I won't stand in a queue if it's longer than 3 people. Like I can't do it. But if you don't feel that way, don't be in it.
Yeah, but you're never going to drive yourself forward if you
go forward, don't you?
Yeah,
that's it.
if you're just going to go, it's all right. It'll take 20 years. I'll just sit back and try and let it happen. It's never going to happen, is it?
No, you got to grab the bull by the horns and make it happen for yourself.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and especially when you've no money. You've got to attack it. Like you've got to attack it like you want it.
Yeah, you've got to take it on. Yeah, you definitely do.
For sure.
Yeah, that's bloody right. Oh.
Yeah.
And do you feel with some people that didn't know, you had an accident a few weeks ago that you fractured your pelvis in a few places, didn't you? Do you feel that the way you've trained since you're not riding as much now is different?
Yeah. Do you know, and I was in the hospital and I got 2 phone calls, right? And I got a phone. Joe Tizard rang us, and he said, your car will have heated seats. He says it'll go up to 28 degrees, and he says, why the fuck are you wanting to
ride in the rain?
And then Sam Thomas, sent me a lovely message, and he was like, well, and I'm only mentioning them two guys because I rode with them two guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're not just name dropping.
No, God, no. We've been mates like for years. But there was two different sides of the coin. Like Sam loves to ride out every day.
Right, okay,
And I was like, so, and I like to ride out every day because it's nice to get that feel. Like because I wouldn't have believed in Breeze River as much as I did if I wasn't riding them. But at the same time, then listening to what Joe had to say, I'm sitting in the car more, and I'm very fortunate that at Hazelrig we've got. I mean, I can literally drive the car next to the horses, and I can set the pace as if I would be. But you can see more because I'm looking out the window and I'm watching 5 horses or 6 horses or 10 horses at once, instead of just being the horse in front and not seeing what's going on. Second, third, fourth, fifth, and making sure they're getting ridden. What we were on about before, like right up to the winning post at home. So I'm unfortunate enough to have been in a wheelchair a few times. So from being there, this isn't new to me.
Slightly accident prone. It's got to be said.
Yeah.
I certainly wouldn't be riding horses if I was in your position.
But you're now starting to see more.
Yeah.
Which I think, I think you're not going to ride out when you're 75. You know what I mean? And Nicky Richards had the same accident as me, and
good old Victor Thompson does, doesn't he?
No, he does. Yeah. But going back to Nicky, he had the same accident as me, and I was speaking to him at Newcastle, and I said, "Are you going to have a ride out again?" And he was like, "Well, I want to. Nobody wants him to.
No.
But he wants to because I don't want to finish like that.
No.
And I bet he doesn't. You know what I mean? And I get that. Like.
Yeah, it's difficult. It's an addiction. This whole sport is an addiction.
Yeah.
And it's hard to say no.
It's an expensive addiction.
It is. But it's difficult when you're so accident prone. Just you sit in the car. It's fine. It's nice and cozy.
Just crash the car.
Just crash it. Driving along, look at the horses. Oh, oops! I didn't know that tree was there. I hope not. That'd be an expensive mistake.
But do you know what? Like, this is an addiction. It's the reason why we
all get up in the morning.
Well, our level even. I mean, like we're not exactly making millions.
No.
But the thing is, we get up every single day. We go out to work. We probably work harder than we'd like to.
Well, you work harder than most. I always think anyone that I know that sits in an office all day earning quite a lot of money.
Yeah.
Like if they were to see what we did on a day-to-day basis, they'd be like, "Oh God, that's a lot of work."
Drive the miles.
Yeah. Just the general work, and not to mention the stress. Do you know what I mean? It's not a stress-free environment, and it's hard, and people don't always appreciate that. But it, as you say, you're always wanting that feeling of winning and success, and that's what keeps everybody going, isn't it?
It is, and regardless of the level, like it's just.
Oh, it doesn't matter what level it is.
It's just winning. Like it's winning because, like when you win, everything else is gone. It's forgotten about, and then don't get us wrong. The following day, the winner's forgotten about because now you're looking for the next one, and that's how it should be. And I think any sportsman or manager or whatever, we all understand that because we're all looking for the same thing.
Oh, we are. And that's what drives us for a bit of success. And like you say, with the stress, it's pressure as well. Pressure to get results.
Pressure is for tires, mate.
No, but some people are under pressure to get results.
No, they are.
And as a rider, it's sometimes the same as well.
I think jockeys and trainers alike. I think sometimes when you have that winner, it's more relief than anything. It's like, oh, thank God,
like a weight's been lifted off your shoulders.
Still do.
I can still do it. I'm still capable. But it is, and it's saying about the pressure. It's right enough. Sometimes you put yourself under the pressure. It's not coming from an outside source, but it is. It's difficult to.
But pressure's a funny thing, though, isn't it? Like you listen to AP, pressure's for the privileged.
Like
if you're
if
you're feeling pressure, it's because one, you think a lot of yourself, and two, if there's pressure coming from outside, it's because they also believe in you.
Yeah.
I think I've always thrived in pressure, whether it's been racing or mother business. There's only pressure when you've got a high expectation of what it is you should be doing. So for that reason being.
So pressure is a privilege.
Pressure is a privilege, and if
well
said,
AP.
You're getting all the sayings on this
well
podcast.
Said AP.
Sorry, you've not got AP.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Next time. Sorry, you're speaking for him. It's all right. Your good mate AP, where I drop him in there as well?
No. Like to be.
Yeah, no, well.
No, but in fairness though, but it's bang on true though.
Yeah.
Like if you're feeling pressure, then good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how
Good.
you deal with it.
Oh, you deal with it. Good.
Character building.
Yeah, it is. I love that. Someone says it's character building. Yeah, whatever. My character's about to explode.
Well, how are you feeling about your season?
Crap.
Yeah.
Yeah, quite honestly. As we've just been discussing, you strive for better. You want to be doing as best you can. And to be honest, even on my best seasons, I've always said that, I could have done better or wanted to do better. So yeah, on the whole, disappointing.
Yeah.
Managed a Grade 2 winner, but that's still,
Yeah.
it's one win, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
you want to be doing that more often, but like most people in the north, we're lacking the ammunition.
Yeah.
And you can't do it without them.
No,
So
no, you can't.
yeah, will we ask Ed that question?
No. Just cut. No.
We were trying to get you winners.
Oh, look. I'm trying myself as well, but it's just I'm not running fast enough. Some of them.
Yeah.
And do you know what? I look back, and sometimes it's not. I don't feel like it's anything that I'm actually doing. And funnily enough, at work, Husey was in riding out on Saturday, and he said sometimes when things aren't going right, you think about changing things. You had that conversation with him, and I spoke to him a bit about it afterwards, and he said it's not always things that you do need to change. Sometimes you just got to keep going through the motions, and you will get back there. The circle will come full round. So
I got
just hoping that's what it is.
A very good piece of advice when I briefly had a spell with Wilson Rennick as my agent, and that was just keep turning up.
Yeah.
And I love that. I still use that now when I'm going having from Wilson.
Yeah.
When I'm having a crappy day or things aren't going right, horses are running rubbish, whatever it is, just keep turning up. Yeah. And eventually it does swing round.
That's what I'm hoping for.
In fairness to Wilson, he was one of the most dedicated lads you'd ever
he was, 100% he was,
when they took riding away from him, he just got on a bike and ended up competing in the Tour de France.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, he was a freak though. Like in fitness terms, I remember when it all happened when he went for because we do the John Muir University testing on jockeys. And he got tested, and he's
is that like the VO5
the
max
VO,
or whatever it is?
whatever it
VO5,
is.
that's hair gel.
And same VO2, VO2 max. When he was testing them hair gel products, they found out he was super fit. Yeah, no, but they did. He went and did all these tests, and I remember him coming back and being like, they told me I should be a Tour de France cyclist.
Well, he had a higher VO2 max than Lance Armstrong.
Like
he was on drugs.
It's mental. Well, I can't speak for Wilson, but no, it's
Wilson
true.
smoked 40 a day.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But he was super fit, and it was amazing. He has that proper mentality and that attitude to go from racing to then being a professional cyclist is crazy. At the age he was at as well.
Yeah, the age he was at, and then look, not to blow smoke at Wilson's arse, but like as an agent, like he's now.
He's doing a very good job.
He's moved that focus to now being in business for himself, and we've got to congratulate him. He's done fair well. To be fair, if it wasn't for Wilson, I wouldn't have been in Hazelrig.
No, he helped you out.
Like I met him. We were both skiing last January in Val Thorens, and I was in Orel and he was in Maryville, and literally Val Thorens in the middle. So we both skied over a mountain and met at a place called the Folly Douche. It's like a day club. Brilliant.
Day club.
We were drinking.
Funny douche.
I think
that sounds like some place that.
Day club, not a day club.
It was outdoor. Everybody else is there.
Okay. Right.
It wasn't one of those places. And we had a few beers, and he kind of floated the idea of if there was a place in Northumberland that you'd be interested in, or if there's a place in Northumberland that came up for grabs, would ever consider moving. Yeah. And in fairness to him, I said, well, there is only one yard in Northumberland that anybody would consider moving to, and that was Hazelrig. And to be fair, if it wasn't for that conversation,
everything happens for a reason, though.
Yeah, that's it.
Just happened to be skiing at the right time.
No, I wasn't very good at it. I was even worse at it after that meeting.
That's what skiing's all about, though, isn't it? That is what skiing's all about.
Yeah, I think regardless of levels, whether it's like your level or Ed's level or any of that level, like there's
Am I not on the
pressure
same level as him?
as it turns out. No.
You asked the question.
Oh, thanks, pal.
Just like I'm on the same level as Paul Nichols.
Sometimes you don't want to hear the answer to the question.
I'm going to remind you of that when we're both in the bumper tomorrow.
Statistics can't lie.
You know you're down in my level now, boy.
Ah dear. What are we racing for? First or second? Or
Well, I hope there's a first in there.
first in there?
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah. We've got 2 in there, so I think one of them
I better be on the better one.
we are, as it turns out. Yeah. I think we both know.
There's levels.
About
I
the
think
right
the other
level.
horse is probably going to be okay, but she's not a bumper horse.
No, she's probably more of a horse for the future, really, isn't
Yeah,
she?
she
She's
is,
of a
she's-
stronger frame, and she probably needs a bumper or 2 for education. Then she's a horse to go
very
from
green, isn't
there.
she?
Yeah.
That's it. Like, and obviously the one you're on.
Nice horse. Nice horse. Yeah. Yeah. But that is just to talk about you and your training again. That is something that you're doing, is building for the future. You know, like I'm lucky enough to get to ride out for you a bit, and there's a lot of nice young horses coming through.
Yeah.
And that's what you're having to do, and you're having to build. You can't just go in and buy something ready made for 200 grand. So you've got to start from the bottom.
That's it. But I think that's the kind of old Greystoke mentality of you trying to buy your stores.
Yeah.
Like funny that like in the back of my head everywhere there's Nicky Richards just sitting in the back saying, should I be doing this or should I be doing that? You know what I mean? Like it's there.
It's living in your head rent free, isn't it?
Like every day.
That must get tiring.
Yeah, he's just like, should you be doing that, son? Should you not? And I'm like, I don't think so.
Does he answer back?
He doesn't, but I do. Probably still is scared, but like he, but like, you know, that way is probably, it's maybe different to, I don't know, let's just say like your Keith Dalglish's, for instance, you know, fantastic trainer, brilliant jockey. You know, like Keith would have the same volume of winners as Nicky would in a season, over jumps obviously, and the prize money would be just about equal, but with 2 completely different types of horses. You know what I mean? Like Keith would be from the flat that would probably, you know, he wouldn't go in buy a store horse, like a 3-year-old, you know, to be a 5-year-old. He'd have a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old that didn't make it on the flat, and then he'd turn it into a jump horse. It's completely opposite. You know, Nicky would do the opposite. He'd buy a 3-year-old and wait till it was 4 or 5 and mature enough, and then but then saying that he'd have it until it was 12. You know, and so there's 2 ways, and again, Husey and the other day, you know, we've had this conversation as well, where you're just like, should you be changing the type of horse that you're buying at the stage you are at training? So I got asked that question the other day, and I sat back and went to myself, actually, maybe. Like, so I've bought stores because I've been taught to buy stores. And off the back of that, is it the right thing to do? Yes, is the answer in the long term.
For the long
but
term,
in the short term.
But in the timeline that you're at, is it? And so what would be the other type of horse that you'd be looking to buy then?
Well, like,
sort of a handicapper that you can get out there, or
then it goes back to your owners, doesn't it? So like if you've got owners that have been in the game a long time, then they understand what to expect from a store horse.
And they give you time and patience.
Yeah, it has to be time and patience. But then if you've got like the new way of things is syndicates, it's clubs, it's syndicates. We've got a club and whatever else going on now, and like, but they want results now. It has to be results driven. So then you're looking at buying a 4, 5, 6-year-old that's maybe running the flat, that's got a bit more gears, that can run through the summer. It's a bit more instant. It might not be there at 9 or 10, and it might not get to the levels that you want to get it because you're trying to buy it well handicapped. So there's plus and minuses everywhere. But if you're encouraging a new owner, you're wanting something to go now. If you've got an old owner or an experienced owner that understand what it is to buy a young horse, and I've got that wrong this year. You know, I've bought new owners young horses, and I shouldn't have done that. I mean, so I'm learning.
You it's never a day where you're not learning. No. Absolutely not.
And you feel like a criminal sometimes because you're like, you know, you sold a nice store horse, and maybe that store horse hasn't been good enough. And you're sitting there going, shit, like I've not just lost an owner, but so is racing.
And
so that's something else that you get wrong. It's pressure from everywhere.
Yeah, difficult.
Yeah.
Very difficult. Getting the balance right and getting the right horse for the right owners. That's
well, it is, but then it's learning as well. Like I mean, this is a brand new business. Like so, you're all the time trying to get better. I'm learning. We're going to get it wrong sometimes, and we have done. To be fair, it's one of them.
We kind of missed a week on the podcast, so we could do a reviewing Cheltenham.
Yeah.
Can you remember what happened at Cheltenham?
It was absolute. I was bewildered by it.
Were you what?
Just
really
amazed. Like, do you know what? You can look at Cheltenham and just go, "That's what spectators want."
It was crazy, absolutely chaos.
Like, if Cheltenham can't do that next season, off the back of what happened this year, there's something far.
It was amazing. Like there was just nothing normal about it.
No.
So from the first day, Django Bay getting up and winning and whatever. I'm not even going to try and say the name of that Willie Mullins horse, but making mistakes and getting himself beat. And then to the champion hurdle with Constitution Hill falling, State Man falling.
Yeah.
I mean,
like Constitution Hill. He's been going to do that for years.
He has. He thinks he's invincible, though, isn't he?
Yeah, but you're just sitting there going, "That it's coming."
Yeah. He got away with it. He got away with it the last day at the last.
Yeah.
At Cheltenham.
Yeah.
Didn't
he? He just took one stride too far.
5 strides too far. He was on his way down the board.
I know.
But then, to be fair, look, it's meant to be about drama.
Yeah.
And it was definitely that. If the first day never got you hooked, the second day did.
Yeah.
Like you're just sitting there going, wow, like that's like from a non-racing spectator's point of view, that's what Cheltenham should be.
And it was every single day. Every single day threw up a story like that.
Yeah.
Whether it had been John Bond, Constitution Hill, Galloping de Champs, every single day threw up a new story, a new hero, which we can all argue about.
But like Willie Mullins dominates every single year, and he did again.
Yeah,
we have 11 winners.
Yeah,
but that wasn't the story of the whole meeting.
No,
the story of the meeting was what actually happened.
Exactly.
And it wasn't about one person. It wasn't about one jockey. It was literally about the drama of the meeting. It wasn't about Willie Mullins.
Do you know what? To be honest, I actually forgot that he dominated the way he did.
Yeah.
Like I actually did because there was so much going on that you were like there was so many other stories, as you say.
Yeah.
I actually forgot that he had so
and
many.
To be fair, do you know what? And like to dramatise it even more, it was surrounded by the thoughts of people that had passed away.
Yeah, it was.
Like as heartbreaking as everything was, the story of the whole meeting was about, Michael O'Sullivan. It was about John Hales. It was about, just people that had passed away. And it kept everybody gripped. Like every single day there was something else, and it was what it emulated, encapsulated what racing was for me.
I love those big words. You've nailed that.
Yeah, I'm good at this shit.
Good at this shit. Fucking good at this shit. But actually, you mentioned the John Hales. Like that Caldwell Potter one was amazing. Like I thought Cobden gave that a peach of a ride.
Yeah, he's some job.
That was class. That was very class. And I know that maybe still doesn't quite justify his price tag, but it did shut a lot of people up.
I think it does.
Yeah, Cheltenham winner. Yeah.
That's what you're buying for.
Yeah.
You're buying to buy a Cheltenham Festival winner.
Yeah.
Well, what did Nicky Henderson's lot pay for that horse? 1.2 million.
Palladium.
Like 1.2 million. Like I'm not being funny. Like, would you pay 770,000 for Caldwell Potter now?
I suppose you would.
If you were JP?
Yeah.
You mean he paid how much for the new line? Like if you were to buy Caldwell Potter after Cheltenham, what's he worth?
Yeah. Don't know. What would you pay for him?
Not that.
I've got 20 quid.
But if you had the money, look, I'll tell you what. What's he going to win next year? Like he's not really going to win a Gold Cup.
No.
So you've got to look at that.
I would say you never know.
Yeah, well, you never know.
I
do know because fuck if I was going to win it anyway. So when you look, Cheltenham, brilliant.
Yeah, outstanding. Anything else? What was your highlight, Ed?
My highlight was probably I actually really
go on, say the new line. Go on, the new line. Harry Skelton.
Harry Skelton. Well, I even put in our group chat, didn't I? What a ride from a proper jockey.
What a jockey.
Yeah.
My highlight, Django Bay.
Yeah?
Yeah, 100%. Simply because Cannock Park is a length and a half behind him. In the Kelso hurdle.
Yeah, great form for that.
So, going back to the previous lot, every single horse that ran well in that Premier Hurdle in Kelso,
yeah,
every one of them's come out and won a listed group, graded race, all season long in every single one of them. You know, in the first 5 were at Cheltenham this year.
There you go.
Apart from our luck, like
yeah.
so that they can't be a bad. He can't be a bad horse. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
When you like he's got an injury, it's there. But like that then gives me huge hope going into the next season. And thankfully, we've got a guy like Colin Thomas who is a new owner to the sport, and who's been patient.
Yeah, very patient, great man.
Just because he's actually gotten a grip of what the sport actually is, and he's just like, right, patience is key.
Yeah.
Sorry to bring it all back to Hazelrig, but like
that's why you're here, mate. That's
Exactly.
right. Yeah, Cheltenham, Hazelrig. You know, you'll be there next year. Let's hope.
But we had our own tipping competition at Hazelrig anyway throughout the week at Cheltenham, where we all picked horses in each race.
Who won?
Well, I can
that's
tell.
not important.
I can tell
Doesn't
you.
matter. Let's move on.
I can tell you who came last.
That's not great, though.
No shit.
That's not great. That's
So
not
I
great.
will see.
Yeah.
But anything that we tipped up through the week didn't win.
No, well, we've got a curse, so
Yeah.
we're going to stop tipping horses.
Well,
because
it was-
we're really bad at it. Sorry, but
Right, if it stands up, if Constitution Hill and Statement both stand up, Golden Nation goes nowhere near him.
No, it
Look
wouldn't.
how far Statement was in
I'm
front
not
of him
being
before the
funny
last.
though, right? But on that subject, like I reckon, and look, Constitution Hill fell a long way out, but the way State Man travelled in for the last, I was thinking to myself, what? Would he have beat him? Am I literally being a bit of Paddy Brennan here? Like, I think he might have been beat.
Yeah, but I don't think, but then Jeremy Scott said that Golden Ace might have beat State Man anyway. I can't have that.
No, I can't.
No, he's 12 lengths
but
clear already
I
going
could
to the last.
just about say State Man might have beat Constitution Hill.
I don't know, he's beaten us too easily before, like, that's...
But like...
I don't know.
Nah, like I'm on the fence there. Like when you go back to trials meeting, and you seen like the distance that the boys gave Constitution Hill, like from the offset, like there was such a soft lead.
Yeah.
Like, and I think the only way they could do it was trying to nail him for finishing speed.
Yeah.
But like, he never got any of that in the champion hurdle. Like for me, I was just sitting there going, would you like to? Is there a horse round about Constitution Hill right now that I think could beat him? If you were to if you asked the same question at trials day, no. If you asked the same question in the champion hurdle, yes. For me. But anyway, that's
So remember who finished last in the tipping competition? take your opinion with a pinch of salt.
Well, I guess
it's a game of opinions.
It is.
Like,
Everyone has one.
well, that's why everyone's probably looking forward to Punchestown. Because
And
Nicky's hinted
especially
that he's
now,
going to
if he
go.
goes,
Well,
Yeah.
he's going to send it to both, isn't he? Entry
Yeah.
and Punchestown by the paper race. But,
You never know until it happens, would you?
But it'd be great for racing if he does.
Yeah, it would be great for racing.
And
we
then
want those rematches.
And he almost has to go. Like he's only getting older.
Yeah.
Like if he doesn't go there now to prove a point, and maybe it's the champion hurdle.
Do you know what he needs? He needs a fence.
Yeah.
Do you think?
He needs to get him backing off, yeah, but absolutely, yeah.
Big dirty
Yeah.
ditch in
Do you
front
think
of
they've
him.
scored him?
I think they have, yeah.
Like they've said they've never scored
I'd
over
say
a
they
fence.
have. Oh, well, saying that, I don't know how they get away with doing it and no one's seeing. I don't know. But, I mean, he would jump a fence.
He's won a point to point.
Yeah, like there's no doubt
Second.
about
No,
that.
he didn't. He was beaten a point.
Second, yeah, he was beaten.
Because he made a
To be fair,
mistake. Because he made a mistake at the last and got beat.
Oh, God. Yes, it's always been in him. But no, I'd like to see him jump a fence. That would be... I'd ride him. Nico doesn't want to ride him, you know.
Yeah, fuck, I'd ride him. I'd ride him.
I'd ride him.
Who would have more of a chance of getting the ride of us three?
Oh no, but I think
Me.
You.
it's a good old, it's a great conversation. Imagine having that.
In a champion chase against Marine Nationale. Because I thought he was very, very good.
He was
Oh,
In
yeah,
a champion
standard,
chase.
yeah,
Yeah.
standard.
I thought he was brilliant.
Yeah.
A valid question in, right? So you look at the Arkle, then you look at the Queen Mother. You can't say that John Gobet is going to be the Queen Mother next year.
No, he wants further.
Of course he does.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
but then the same old
Well, so
story
he goes, what? Is a Ryanair 2.5?
Mm-hmm.
Would you go to the Ryanair with him?
I think he runs further again. Like he looks brilliant. Like
Well, I don't know. Like, I
Come
don't
on,
know.
Ed, offer your opinion.
Going from 2 miles up to 3 miles is a big step sometimes
Yeah.
straight away without going 2.5 first.
Yeah, but he
Yeah,
well
what was
through the
the
season,
sell
wasn't
Was that 2?
The what?
Silly Isles. We finished second.
It's 2, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Soft ground.
Stiff,
Bombers
stiff 2.
Stiff 2. Yeah.
Stiff 2.
So,
Fucking good horse. Though.
Yeah, very. Of course, yeah. You finished just behind it. Of course,
Because
you're
it's a good horse.
bigging your own horse up here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why take the opportunity?
Yeah. Live in a world of possibilities.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
So, yeah, you've got to.
Well, that moves us on to the Go North Finals weekend that we just had. Firstly, I would like to say it is a great thing for Northern Racing to have these finals weekends with some decent prize money for, quite honestly, low-grade horses, ultimately. You know, they do a great job. And I mean, Kelso had, I'm not sure if it was actually part of the Go North thing, but the 100 Grand Mares final at Kelso on Saturday. I mean, that's huge prize. They've put on some huge prize money this season.
The Apollo, yeah.
But the flip side to that is that a lot of the local horses and northern-based horses aren't good enough to run in a lot of the races that they've put on. You know, the last 3-4 meetings they've had, the racing's been probably too good.
Far too good.
Yeah, they need to have a better bit of a mixture.
Yeah, and I think, you know, I think they're actually looking into it. To be fair, just to try and, I can fully understand where Kelso are coming from, because you know what, in the last month, there's been 2 ITV slots where everybody's came north.
Yeah.
It's you know, they've done that. They've promoted racing in the north massively. So is it working? Yes.
Yeah.
Is it great for Northern Racing? 100%. Is it great for the trainers of Northern Racing? It's questionable.
Yeah.
So I think we need to get the mix of that right.
Yeah.
And I think they will, because the one thing about Kelso is they try their absolute best to accommodate everything. Yeah. And to be fair, they're a stalwart at putting Northern Racing on the map.
Honestly, they're brilliant. You know, it's got a reputation for being Britain's friendliest racecourse. It is.
Yeah.
You have a great day out there, and as I say, they do things properly. They do listen. You've got a problem, they do listen. And the ground, can I just mention, the ground is always perfect.
Yeah.
Always. Like, they have a great covering of grass. Yeah. Like, it's in great condition. You got a lot of these tracks and they're bare and there's, you know, no grass and it's horrible ground. Kelso do a great job. So
little microclimate there as well, though.
Yeah.
There's, like you always hear, you know, if it's wet everywhere else it's dry in Kelso, and if it's dry everywhere else it's wet in Kelso.
Yeah.
Like, so they're in a nice place. It's a great racetrack. It's a fantastic racetrack, to be fair. Like, it is. And I mean, in days of old, like, I mean, I'm roughly the same age as you. There's maybe 5 or 6 years apart, but like
roughly the
but
same age.
I remember like when Kelso Chase Track was different. It used to be a Cheltenham prep course.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like old trainers like used to send horses there to trial horses. John Joe sends horses there to trial them for the Grand National.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, so he does it year in year out.
Yeah.
Still does it year in year out. So it's a fantastic. It's just a brilliant racetrack.
Yeah,
to be
it
fair.
is.
Sharp
It is.
hurdle track, brilliant staying track.
Yeah. But it takes a bit of jumping, Kelso, over the chase track. Like, it does. I'm sure it was. Bigger when I first started. No, but it's just the way the course is set up. It does take a bit of jumping, and you know you can't afford to keep miss fences, make mistakes.
No, I wish they never moved the ditch. Though. Did you ride it with them?
Yeah, I did. They need to move it back there because that.
Did you? I still love it in there.
Yeah, that.
What was that? The one coming away from the stands?
Away from the stands, you come off the corner and you hit it. It's perfect. See where it is now is a nightmare. We have been asking them to change it.
It's almost like a half stride too close to the takeoff board.
Yeah.
Like when the ditch was there, you either hit it wrong or you hit it right.
Yeah.
But like Brian's story, I used to watch Brian's story around there, and he'd do you know what? He would steal a race away from the stands.
Yeah.
Like, I remember Dobbs telling me, if you want to watch anybody around Kelso, watch Brian's story. It was just phenomenal. He'd win races around there just because how good he was as a horseman in the country.
Yeah, makes such a difference.
And I think that ditch being moved has taken that away.
Yeah.
Step into that fence now.
Yeah.
The neighbours step into it.
Yeah, but like where the ditch is now is horrible. Like you're going downhill into it, and you just it's awful. We have asked them to move it, so hopefully they will. Go North Series, very good.
I'll control this shit.
No, it was like, I mean, for me personally, it was all right.
Yeah,
all right. You know, like I've had years where we've had a few winners, and it's been great. There was one year, we won one each day, I think, which was fantastic. This year just had a couple of good places, so happy enough. But
do you ever think that they should have chasers at Musselburgh for the North Finals?
No,
Why?
because I prefer Musselburgh as a hurdle track.
Yeah,
Personally, I personally, to be honest, like I like Musselburgh as a track.
Yeah.
I like the long straights and it's a nice track.
Yeah.
But I think when the ground dries up this time of year and you're meeting these fences quick, and especially on the Go North, which I always forget after every year how quick we go in a Go North final race, and I was reminded of that this year. When you're going that quick at Musselburgh over the fences, it's not pleasurable, but that's
like
personal
trappy,
preference.
because
Trappy, because it's flat and you go quicker, and the fences down the back straight come up at you quick at Musselburgh.
Yeah.
But they do it to save the flat track, don't they? So
Yeah.
because that was our last meeting. So so no. Why do you think they should?
No, but I mean, me and Paul were talking about it the other day. Paul's got a horse in his yard that would probably, if
Selfishly.
selfishly. It is selfishly speaking,
Yeah,
but he would be an ideal candidate to aim towards the Go North Series final. But
Yeah,
all
2.5 mile at Musselburgh, not 2.5 mile at Carlisle.
all his best form's probably on a track like Musselburgh.
But
sorry.
No, I was going to say I had that same problem almost, that we had Ganapathy finish second at Carlisle over 2.5. He needs that a bit further, but we thought 3 miles at Carlisle was too far. Yeah. But if it's 3 miles at Musselburgh, you're doing fine. So I get what you're saying with that.
But then you've got a Cheltenham horse and an entry horse.
Yeah.
So it's the same old scenario, isn't it? So you can only. Yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah. You're going to say you only get pissed with the cock you got. I could tell that was on the tip of your tongue.
It was, It was buried in there. But it's true though, isn't it? Like, I mean, everybody thinks selfishly. And I'm selfish as hell. Like,
you have to be. I think I get told that a lot yourself. I think in our line of work, you do actually have to be at times. It doesn't mean that you're an actual selfish person, but you have to be. You have to think about yourself and think about your own business and your own things. For success, you do. You don't get successful by thinking about other people and doing what they want. So
no, 100%.
Yeah,
Kill or be killed.
Kill or be killed. Yeah,
that's it.
And it's probably more so at the level below top.
Yeah.
Because the level I'm at, not what he's at.
I think the level that I think everybody's aspiring to be at. Like, the only way you get there is through selfishness.
Yeah.
And like, do you watch AP's like? Was it the real AP or?
The documentary. Yeah.
And he's on about being selfish. Like, I mean, now, he maybe is the most selfish man around, but the only way he could have got to where he is by being there.
Oh, he would never have made it anywhere if he hadn't been selfish.
Yeah,
because you'd be too worried about doing things for other people and how they wanted.
It doesn't work.
Wanted you to
Like, you can't get that level of success without it.
No.
Even just to touch on him, like he set a bar for training, for jockeys, there's the blueprint on how you do it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it just.
There's not many people going to be able to match that. That's the thing.
No, maybe it's not the level of success, but in how to get to it.
Yes, yeah.
There's a blueprint there.
The attitude, the mindset. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's fantastic.
Yeah. On another note, I would like to add something.
Oh, here we go.
So we've talked about Mr. Incredible on this before, and he ran at Kelso Saturday. Now he's had to run to qualify for the national. I mean, they said they just really wanted to see him start because he didn't start his last run. And he did start, and he ran a nice race until he made a mistake and got tired and pulled up. But I didn't ride with a stick. I didn't take a stick with me because we knew he didn't like the stick. Now, I didn't realise this was a rule. So I didn't know that by the rules of the BHA, you were supposed to carry a stick, and I didn't.
Right.
And so I got an £80 fine. So it was an interesting one though, because as I say, I didn't know there was a rule there. But then I said to them in Stewards Inquiry, I was like, well, what was stopping me dropping my stick on the way to the start?
Yeah.
On
the way to the
front. And that they can't answer that. But by finding me and by highlighting it, it has just opened up a debate on stick.
The stick.
You know, like they could have just said, don't do it again. You know, instead it's now in the report, and now find me for not carrying a stick. and you have the Racing Post asking for comment, and I just think the BHA don't help themselves on these matters. And I what do you think?
So to play devil's advocate, right? You're gonna hate
no,
this,
go
right?
for it.
But
go
like,
for it.
so should you have known? You should or not ride with a stick? Yes is the answer.
Well, yeah, well,
like, so,
not really, because it never comes up. Because you just take it out, and you never thought anything of it, really. And I understand why the rule's there, because they say it's for safety reasons. I never see racing happening without carrying a stick. I get that, but then I've said, well, there should be a point where you can ask for special permission for something that doesn't want a stick, that you don't ride with one. But we had.
So
he's looking in the garden, and there's ponies running around. I just simply didn't know, and everyone I've spoken to was the same. They had no idea that was a rule.
I never.
I didn't.
I've just been an absolute twat. Just asking the question.
I had no idea. But as I say, I just thought perhaps they should have just said, right, now don't do it again. But now that it's in the stewards report and all that stuff, it's just kind of
for anybody to see publicly.
It's just made it a bit more of an issue than it needed to be, really.
What did you think of him?
I was delighted with him. Because we've put a lot of work into him. And
he's gotten further than anybody else.
And he started he started more willingly than it maybe looked on the TV. He just, when you come you come past the fence, and then the way the rail dives in, he's just dived in, and then as soon as he hit it, he's gone, no problem. And he felt unreal, like jumping and travelling around. He felt amazing. But there was through no will in the world were we going to have him fit, because you can't graft the bollocks off him at home.
No.
You can't. You've got to keep him sweet alongside trying to get the work into him. And he made a mistake going first down the back, and that was him. He got a bit detached, and he was just.
When was the last time he was actually in a race?
Exactly. It's been over a year, or nearly a year. Sorry. And so I was delighted with him. We took all the positives out of it, and it's all about trying to get his confidence back. And He's been in these big establishments over the years, and they don't have time to really spend one-on-one time with him. They just need him to do a job, and we're lucky that we can spend the time with him and try to get to the bottom of him. And he's just a very intelligent horse, and he's got it in his head that he doesn't want to start or race or whatever. And we're slowly changing that, which is nice.
Do you think he'll progress from it?
I hope so. There's no guarantee, is there? But certainly the way that he's progressed in his training suggests that he will progress in the racecourse. But unfortunately, the man that bought him for the Grand National, now whether they deem him fit to run the Grand National off the back of that,
so is that a question that you don't have to answer? Is that the powers that be?
No, that's the powers that be. So whether they deem him fit to run or not, I don't know. But the man that bought him doesn't keep all that well. This is his dream to have a runner in the National. So for his sake, hopefully they allow him. But certainly moving forward, he's going the right direction. And I mean, I spoke to Patrick Mullins about him, and he says, I genuinely think he would have been a 170 rated horse, because he says we only ever managed to do once round our gallop with him. He never do any more than that. And he says the races that he ran, having not been really that fit, he said he would have been a proper horse. So if we can get him back to any kind of level of that, he'd be.
And do you think, all being well, he runs at the Grand National, do you think the start there would have any impact on how he will go? With the start being so close to the stands, and if God forbid, we've seen it a lot at Cheltenham this last week with false starts. That wouldn't. Well, it wouldn't necessarily be in your favour, would it? So
no,
how would
we hope not. Well, the thing is, he's got a good record in the National. Like he's started them, and that's another thing that I spoke to Patrick Mullins about. He said he's actually better in bigger races, more horses around. But if all being well, we're allowed to run the National, we would be taking him down a fair few days before and do a lot of his training on the track. So he gets used to his surroundings. He knows where he is. The guy that was doing the training with him is the behaviourist, Freddie Steele. It's all about doing his transitions, just trying to break the cycle. And so we would have the opportunity to do the transitions on the course where the start would be, so just to cover all the bases. So,
right, okay.
Touch wood,
No, just
Anyway,
be interesting to see
it's
what
right.
your take was,
It's
how
right.
you'd approach that.
It's obviously in the back of my mind. I think the worst start for him was Ayr in the Scottish National.
Off that bend,
yeah,
and everyone
off the bend,
wants to
and
go.
you're all racing, and you're starting really with your back to where your boxes are parked and your stables and everything. That's a lot worse for him. And I've already said if he's not allowed to run the Grand National, I don't want to take him to the Scottish because of that. You don't want to encourage that behaviour. He's not at that place
Tough
now.
one though, he's only getting older.
I know. Well, he's only 9.
Yeah, but for them races, though, you can there's a time in their life for it, and every year you say he's not just another year, and especially if there's an owner that's not overly well, there's pressure.
Well, that's the pressure this year. I'll be honest. Before Kelso, I've never felt pressure or nerves like it in my life, because I've done all the work with him. No one else is allowed to ride him. I've done everything with him, and the pressure to get him to start. And
Because you didn't have a stick.
Yeah,
I felt the pressure.
I was scared without my stick. Honestly, no, I was
You
sat
forgot
there.
it. He was that under
I was
pressure.
sat there
forgot
going, "Oh God," it was never felt anything like that. Because you're so.
Steph said that to me. She goes, "I think Ryan's riding with a whip." I says, "He wouldn't be allowed not to ride with a whip."
Yeah. Well, the thing is, they never said anything to me, before the race. So.
That was the argument we had when we watched you. I said, "He's not got a stick." I says, "He does." I says, "He's not allowed to ride with a whip."
Yeah.
So I knew that.
See, how did you know
I
that?
never knew that.
Nah, see, he rides.
That's Dobbs in the back of my head says, "You never ride without." I said, "You can't."
I've got legs. I've got legs. I don't need a stick.
Yeah, I got legs.
That's what he always says to
What do I
Dobbs.
say that? I say that at home when I'm schooling. I
Yeah.
never use a stick.
Yeah,
Never use a
that's
stick. Yeah. But no, it was lesson learned. But I'll just drop it on the way at the start.
Just 80 quid.
What's 80 quid?
What happens when you get to the elbow, ain't you, and you nip and tuck, and you think, "Oh, I could have done with my stick here now."
So it wouldn't make any difference. He didn't respond to it. That's why we know he doesn't like it. He doesn't respond to it. So it's pointless having it in my hand.
Just keep shoving away.
Yeah, keep shoving.
Perfect.
There you go.
Good luck.
We're gonna need it. There's a BHA listening. Let's run, please. Let's run.